Hello and welcome. This is Your City in Action here on Salina Media Connection. I'm your host, Todd Pittenger, from the Rockingham Media Group of radio stations, most notably News Radio 1150 KSAL here in Salina. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a little while since we've had a chance to do one of these things, and as you'll notice, we're socially distanced here. We're all good today. COVID has kind of set us back a little bit, and COVID will kind of be our topic today. COVID and the city, and more specifically, COVID, the city, and Salina Parks and Recreation. My two guests today are
Jeff Hammond.
You are, what I always mess up your title.
The Deputy Parks and Recreation Director.
Which means you're second in command.
Correct.
And Travis Scheele, who I've known for years, I worked under him when I umpired. Travis, you are
the Recreation Superintendent.
Right, and before all of this COVID, you had an office over at the field house. Do you still go to the field? No, it's closed, right?
The field house is temporarily closed, that's correct, and kind of officing over there at the City County building, just temporarily.
Well, if you need some space, we've got a little room in the basement, a storage room at the radio station. Gotcha. We'll start with you, Jeff. Sure. COVID-19 really shut down the world, so to speak. Right. It shut down Parks and Recreation. You had to make some hard decisions. You didn't have a lot of time to do it. And I think the difficult thing for me, the information was always changing also. Yes. So let's rewind. Let's go back to March. First of all, the governor closed all of the schools, and then it was kind of the domino effect after that. Other public entities started to close things. Tell me about that.
We as a department and as a city identified what was an essential function and what was not a non-essential function, and for the protection of our employees, for those non-essential functions, we did have people go home. We made sure they were made whole. We made sure they got a paycheck. We went from there to going into a reduced staffing, where we're now working less than a 40-hour week. We also made the decisions with City Commission or by City Commission to reduce or remove all part-time payroll for the summer or for the summer.
So your seasonal help, essentially, you didn't hire this year.
Yeah, we don't have many seasonal help at all right now for Salina Parks and Recreation. And then we started looking at what we can do. And that's where we're at now, and that's what we wanted to talk about today for the most part. And what we're able to do, we have, and this is with City Commission's blessing. We did to get our golf course back open.
Yes.
And we're rerunning that with reduced staffing. We do have a baseball and softball group, which Travis will go into some detail about. Commission wanted us to look at our Fieldhouse Camp, which is a licensed daycare. That did not happen. So we're kind of looking and we're trying to planning for fall. Trying to get some things going on with soccer and what else we can do with that limited staffing.
Well, and talk about your seasonal staff. Some people may not realize all of the different things that you have seasonal staff do. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, it goes
everything from lifeguards to pulling weeds in the park,
We have mowers. To start with, at this time of year, we're 82% less staffing than we normally have at this time of year on any given summer. That affects mowers, that affects lifeguards at Kenwood Cove, that affects counselors for that day camp at the Fieldhouse Camp. It's umpires, it's scorekeepers, it's referees for soccer. So it does affect us greatly.
So even though you are open without this seasonal help, it provides challenges also, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we as recreation people want to serve. We want to offer recreation opportunities, and we want to open parks. We want to have playgrounds open. We want to make it look as best as we can with that 18% of staffing level that we're at right now.
Again, this is Your City in Action here on Salina Media Connection. I'm your host, Todd Pittenger, from the Rockingham Media Group of radio stations. We're talking City of Salina Parks and Recreation and the impact that COVID-19 has had on that. Travis, one of the best sounds I heard the other day, I'd like to say the crack of the bat. It was the ping of the bat I heard the other day. It's been a long time coming. Tell me about the things. I don't want to talk about what we can't do this summer. Let's talk about what we can do. You got creative, and you made it possible to play ball this summer.
Sure. As Jeff mentioned, due to the part-time staff, full-time staff, budget challenges, really had to think outside the box. And in order for make it happen, volunteer groups stepped up to the plate. No pun intended there, but they really stepped to the plate. One is Baseball Enterprises with the competitive baseball up on the hill with Dean Evans and Matson.
Yep.
They've really stepped up to the plate to help ensure that is going on.
Yep.
The other really important group is IFA. They're International Fast Pitch Association. They did step up to the plate to run our league.
Yep.
And done a great job doing so. 72 teams.
Wow.
72
How does that
teams.
compare to a normal year?
We're usually in that 110, 120 range.
So down a little bit, but literally these teams had to come together instead of having a whole year in a matter of days, if not a week, right?
We pulled this
The league,
together
right?
in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
So it's changeover was everything's fluid.
Right.
As you mentioned, a lot of change, but to manage to do what they did in a short amount of time,
Right.
very impressive. And they do have a Facebook page, by the way. It's Keep Salina Playing.
Okay.
So you can get on there and learn a little bit about the league and how it was pulled together. They do run tournaments as well on the weekends, and so they have that knowledge, infrastructure, that background, and so they're running games during the week and weekends now. So we couldn't have done it without them.
Right.
Really couldn't.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. Without the community involvement, none of this would be possible right now, would it?
I've been here about 15 years now, and one thing that struck me and still amazes me is how when times are tough,
Right.
How people can pull together and accomplish something.
So tell me about, I know staffing is low. Do they help, do they come up with the umpires and the scorekeepers and everything? Yes?
They do.
Yes?
They do. So all the part-time staffing as far as umpires, scorekeepers, some supervision, as
Right.
you would say, we're cooperating on that. Some trash duties to getting the fields prepped. We're all molding that.
And occasionally
figuring
I'll
it out.
see a call for volunteers. Hey, can somebody come out and help take the tarp off the field? That sort of thing.
That
right?
is correct, and that's one of those things that I was talking about, how this community comes together just to get the job done. Pretty impressive.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the facilities up at Dean Evans and the ballparks. That project is proceeding, but without the public funding at this point, the Baseball Enterprises, they've come up with their own money, right?
That is correct. They put forth a proposal to the city, and they would fund the Dean Evans and turf Dean Evans solely with private money. That is correct.
And tell me about the turf and why that is such a big deal. I know for years people have been pushing turf, and I know I've seen in the past we didn't have state baseball this year, unfortunately. Last year we kind of sort of had state baseball. We got it started, but then the rains came and we couldn't get the tournament finished in Salina. So tell me why the turf is so important.
Turf does improve your chances of playing tremendously.
Right.
Barring any lightning, any of that stuff, and drainage. It helps with the staffing hours to prep the facility, mowing, watering, all those things. It helps with that, reduce that time that maybe we could spend elsewhere on other facilities.
So in a limited capacity, we do have some summer sports going on. I know none of us have a crystal ball in front of us. Heck, we don't know what's going to happen next week as opposed to in a couple of months when fall rolls around. But let's look ahead to the fall. Are y'all making plans already? At least tentative plans for the fall?
We're trying.
Right.
Any action we need to put forth and City
Right.
Commission will need to approve. And we would like to have our normal recreation programming.
Right.
but it'll
Whatever
probably-
normal is now.
But it'll probably be the new normal.
Right.
And whatever that is, we're still kind of planning through
Right.
that.
Right. So, Travis, run me through a typical fall. When would you start getting ready for basketball and whatever it is else you have in the fall? Do you have fall? You have fall outdoor sports also?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. As soon as summer ends,
Right.
we're rolling right into the fall. So the middle third week of July is that crucial time to
Right.
start preparing for fall programs, registrations, advertising, those type of things. So that is a crucial time. We're just ending summer baseball and softball,
Yes.
but we're rolling right into the fall. So.
And this year, I would say it's probably even a little more challenging because you hope to roll into the fall, but You don't know what fall is going to look like. You don't know what kind of seasons you're going to be able to have, if anything. So I guess what? You just prepare for the worst and hope for the best then?
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. With the baseball and softball tournaments, we didn't know what
Right.
to expect there. We started at the beginning of June, and to date, in the month of June, we're at 195 tournament teams.
Right.
You know, and we're right in that neighborhood of where we usually are, a little bit lower, but with 7 tournaments and 195 teams, 140 of those from out of town, we're doing well. You know, so far.
Now, in a normal year, your Parks and Rec season would be winding down. It'd be nearly done by the 4th of July, right?
Yes, you're correct. About that middle July time is
Yep.
when everybody wants to be done.
Yep.
Take their vacations, do whatever they want to do. We're working for
Right.
the fall, but yeah, on a typical year, we want to be done by that time.
Right.
But we're going to clear to August 1st,
Right.
August 2nd with our baseball and softball and our field house
Right.
tournaments. So
And-
it has delayed
Right.
that season.
Well, people really can't get out and do vacations this year anyway, so you may as well go to a ball game with
Sure.
the kids, right?
Sure.
Yeah, may as well keep that going through July or as late as you can keep it going.
Yep.
So again, this is Your City in Action here on Salina Media Connection. I'm your host, Todd Pittenger, from the Rockingham Media Group of radio stations, talking Salina Parks and Recreation, talking about what they can still do amidst this COVID outbreak. Let's talk a little bit about Kenwood Cove. That was a big decision not to open that this year. And I knew right away when the city said, you know what, we just can't have seasonal help this year. Made it impossible to open it, didn't it?
It was a very difficult decision to make. We did present an alternative plan
Right.
where we would limit the number of people coming in, maybe only opening the lap pool area, reducing the staff. That was mid-June,
Right.
which was a tough decision and would have been tough to actually execute as well.
Sure.
Because it was so late in the season.
And especially now, since we're having an uptick in cases too. I mean,
Right. And
you may have had it open for a week and had to close it, right?
There are cases occurring at
Yes.
pools around Kansas right now where someone went to a pool and
Right.
they were knowingly, or they knew afterwards
Right.
that they were infected.
And they caused an outbreak. Well, let's fast forward then to Memorial Day weekend 2021. In a perfect world, Kenwood Cove is going to be able to reopen. But I would guess that's not something, since you didn't open it this year, you can't just let it sit vacant all year and do nothing to it, correct?
We are going over there, making sure the grass is mowed and trimmed. It's not being done as frequently as people expect, but it is being done. We do have to maintain it. We do
Right.
have to maintain the surfaces. We have to maintain the motors and pumps. We have to maintain the equipment, maintain the facility. In September, we are planning on doing a full thorough check of everything. We're going to put some water in it,
Right.
run some pumps.
If you need anybody to volunteer to swim in it to make sure it's okay, I'm at the top of the list. Okay. All right.
Probably won't run slides. Sorry, Todd. But we want to make sure we're ready to go for 2021 and make sure we have a great season that summer.
Now, Travis, tell me about the field house. How long has it been since you've had an event in there? I mean, it was probably right around March Madness was when you had to shut
that
down,
third
right?
week of March.
Right.
I remember having some tough conversations
Yes.
and closing the doors.
And I would guess that's also a facility. You can't just close the door and lock it and walk away and 3.5, 4 months, 5 minutes later, open it back up and everything's ready to go, right?
No, it does have the wood floors
Right.
in there, so we do have to maintain those a certain temperature or have some type of circulation through there. But everything else, we did kind of shut down,
Right.
so to speak, do some walkthroughs daily just to check on the facility. But it has been tough to close the doors.
All right.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Time is winding down. Jeff, what do you want to leave us with? What do you want people to remember from this program today?
That we're committed to serving the public for Parks and Recreation, and we're fighting for every recreation opportunity we can. And we're also starting something tomorrow, which should be put out tomorrow about volunteer opportunities, more volunteer opportunities
Excellent.
within our parks for the community to get engaged, whether it be a small thing or a larger thing, picking up trash to helping us weed things. So we'll be looking forward to that press release soon.
And again, I'll be a test swimmer at Kenwood Cove. I'll volunteer for that.
It's only going to be a little bit of water, Todd, but I'll invite you.
Sounds good. And Travis, give me the synopsis now of the field house here in the near future.
Sure. Like I mentioned, July we're jam-packed with tournaments, which is a great thing. And then towards the end of July, their commission, we're evaluating where we're at with budget, sales tax, those type of things, and to see where we can go for the fall and winter. But as Jeff mentioned, we're tentatively scheduling and trying to have things in line. So when that, hopefully we get that green light of hey, we're ready to go.
Right.
My advice to the viewers then would be stay tuned. This is a very fluid situation here. We may have a full line of programming in the fall. We may just have limited, but these guys are doing everything they can to offer as much as they still safely can while we can here. This has been Your City in Action. Thank you for joining us today.